Well, I don't know how the audio is, so we're going to hope for the best. I titled this live the way I did because, the giants in life don't necessarily have to be physical. A giant could just mean an obstacle standing in front of you. So when we're battling these things, it's important to realize that your everyday battles can be a giant. And I was originally going to do a Facebook Live, but I figured I would do this. I'll kind of dilly-dally around for a few minutes and maybe wait for somebody to join. But we can only overcome our fears when we face them. And if a giant is one of those things, then you have to determine what type of giant it is. For some people, depression can be a giant. And insecurity can be a giant. Depression, isolation, for some it could be eating. Might be too much. I apologize. Just an evening snack. So I'm a big grab a Bible and flip it open type of person. And I have found that whether it be pure chance or divine guidance, that typically when I have a question and I have something on my mind and I open that book, I can find something relative. Hold on 1 second. I'm actually going to attempt to clean the lens on the camera because I think we might have some deer tay on it. I don't think that really made a big difference, but we'll go with that. So I happened to, take a pause, think about it for a minute. And I opened my Bible and I came right to 1 Samuel chapter 17. It was very odd because I was going to talk about battles. And we have the David and Goliath story right here. And it's where everything's preparing, where they're lining up the bands of armies and things like that. And the Philistines are gathered together, the armies. And you have Saul's men on one mountain and the Philistines on the other. And cue Goliath of Gath says his height was 6 cubits and a span. The average cubit is about 18 inches, but it can vary all the way up to 22 and a half inches, which would be mine. Is the length from the tip of your elbow. Some people would say pinky, some would say middle finger. It just depends on who you were talking about, and I would assume the one that was measuring anyways. So you can imagine, we're talking anywhere between 8.5 to maybe up to 12 feet. And there is also a measurement as of the angel on the cubit. So that changes things as well. And helmet of brass, he had chainmail on. And he was massive. He was intimidating. And he challenges Saul's men. And David, the son of Jesse, basically gets sent out. And I'm trying to go over here. It says, and Saul armed David with his, this is, I'm sorry, 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 38. And Saul armed David with his armor, and he put a helmet of brass upon his head, as he armed him with a coat of mail. David girded his sword upon his armor, and essayed to go, for he had not proved it. And David said unto Saul, I cannot go with these, for I have not proved them. He hadn't proven worthy to wear that armor. He was a shepherd. He wasn't a warrior. And David put them off. Verse 40. And he took his staff in his hand and chose him 5 smooth stones out of the brook, and put them in a shepherd's bag, which he had, even in a scrip. His sling was in his hand, and he drew near to the Philistine. And the Philistine came on and drew near David. The man that bare the shield went before him. When the Philistine looked about and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth, and ruddy, and of a fair countenance. He was positive. And the Philistine said unto David, Am I a dog that you comest to me with staves? And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. Verse 44. And the Philistine said to David, Come to me, and I will give your flesh unto the fowls of the air and to the beasts of the field. Then said David to the Philistine, You comest to me with a sword and a spear and with a shield, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. This day will the Lord deliver you into my hand, and I will smite you and take your head from you, and I will give the carcasses of the host of the Philistine this day unto the fowls of the air and to the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel. And all this assembly shall know that the Lord saveth not with sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands. And it came to pass, when the Philistine arose and came and drew near to meet David, that David hasted and ran towards the army to meet the Philistine. And David put his hand in his bag and took thence a stone and slang it, and smote the Philistine in his forehead, that the stone sunk into his forehead, and he fell upon his face to the earth. So David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and with a stone, and smote the Philistine and slew him, but there was no sword in the hand of David. Therefore David ran and stood upon the Philistine, and took his sword and drew it out of the sheath thereof, and slew him, and cut off his head therewith. And when the Philistines saw their champion was dead, they fled. Now, what this says to me is, first off, let's venture back, because I didn't read all of this. But it said that David picked up 5 stones. 5. How many brothers did Goliath have? David went with intention. He knew. It wasn't that he believed. He knew. He knew that what he believed was true. So David knew he could do this. And he didn't go into it fearful. He didn't go into it worrying. He didn't question anything. He just did it. He didn't go with the same kind of armor because that was going to weigh him down. Plus, he hadn't proven himself worthy of wearing it. Goliath also moved toward David, and David rushed him. See, this is a show of intimidation, fearlessness. It probably stunned Goliath in a way. Something he didn't expect, something right in his face. So in the battles of life, the giants, that could be an addiction, that could be an insecurity, that could be a long-standing vendetta with somebody, something you've been dealing with and you haven't said anything. You've pushed it aside. You haven't tried to battle it because you're too afraid to. You feel like it's something that you can't do. Whenever you have these moments, think about David. Even if you don't believe it really happened. And in this region, in Gath, which is where Goliath was from, there was actually a place in, I think it's northern Israel, and it's called Tel Gath. And the living quarters are, I believe they're 13 feet by 13 feet. And if you look anywhere else, you'll see that living quarters weren't that large. They would be more like 6 or 7 by 7, something like that. They would be much smaller. So this says that whatever peoples were living there, were actually of great size. Now, very well could have been politicians or something like that, because those would be of great size.